You know, it feels like every single time, at least near enough, Starfield is talked about, the size and the scale of the game always comes up too at some point. Whether that's talking about the planets, the weapon choices, dialogue lines, or even just the game in general. It's really shocking just how huge this game will be, at least according to Bethesda. We already know that Starfield will have more dialogue lines than any previous Bethesda Game Studios game, which is insane in itself, but when you pile that on top of 1,000 planets, 100 solar systems, more weapons than any previous BGS game, which was also confirmed to us during the showcase, we can already confirm that yeah, this game is going to be absolutely huge. We're even getting some things that Bethesda fans have been begging for literal decades at this point, like with the unarmed skill tree, backgrounds and even traits. There's just so much that Bethesda have put into Starfield that I definitely think with all of this stuff combined, Starfield will 100% be played for 10 plus years just like Skyrim has and just like Fallout 4 will. But even just the basic role-playing mechanics of this game really seem to be taking a huge step up in Starfield by adding in things like, again, more dialogue options, more factions than Bethesda's last game, and of course again the traits and backgrounds, all of which combined obviously help making new playthroughs a hell of a lot more fun than they were in Skyrim or Fallout 4. Of course Skyrim and Fallout 4 does have really good replayability, don't get me wrong, but Starfield just seems like it will sort of top it, if that makes any kind of sense. And there's of course so many options here for us too when it comes to things like, say, character builds. With all of the different weapons and skills that you can focus on, you can just focus on rifles or lasers or ballistics, pistols, automatics, big guns, and that's just, you know, guns. There's so much more, such as melee, unarmed / neuro strikes, or even play passive and try your hardest to never fight anyone. I'm very excited to see challenge runs just using the cutter, or trying to beat the game without killing anyone like I just said. With the massive backlash that Fallout 4 got because we were sort of forced to be a good guy no matter what we did, well, with the big focus on the Crimson Fleet, I heavily expect Starfield to have an absolute ton of evil / bad choices for us to make. And I think that this is where Starfield will really shine, giving us big consequences for our actions and decisions. Honestly, that's the main thing I'm looking for in Starfield, just a good RPG with lots of choices and consequence for those choices. I want to see the whole universe change based on my decisions. Assuming we can, let's say I destroy, I don't know, the United Colonies. I want New Atlantis to then change drastically based on my choice to do that. Because that's all an RPG is when you really break it down. It's just actions, choice and consequence. We've spoken before about how mods are clearly going to be a huge part of Starfield, especially in a couple of years' time. Skyrim and Fallout 4 both have massive modding scenes, as I'm sure you are all aware at this point. But it's to the point where people have recreated entire games inside of these games using mods. We're seeing so many huge mods on the way, besides the remakes too, with Fallout London, Sky Oblivion, and so many more, and with how giant Starfield really is, there's no doubt in my mind that it will be the exact same here for the modding scene. With lots of Starfield's planets and moons being empty and lifeless just like real life, we're bound to see modders build their own cities even on these planets and moons, creating unique creatures for certain locations, and I know for a damn fact that there's going to be a cluster of Star Wars mods, which I know many of you are waiting for. I get a lot of comments from people saying that they can't wait to turn Starfield into a Star Wars RPG. And look, with how popular Fallout 4's weapon mods are, we're probably going to see a lot of that return as well. Modders just absolutely love putting Call of Duty guns into Fallout 4, and I definitely expect things like this for the Starfield modding scene too. And of course we'll get the somewhat smaller mods like retextures, well, I guess that's not a small mod, but you know what I mean. Changes to certain locations, outfits, and all of the usual modding content that we are used to. Mods are gonna 100% help keep Starfield alive for many years in the future, especially since if we ever even see a sequel for Starfield, it probably won't be out until like 2040 at best. But Bethesda have also revealed that they have a lot of plans for DLC in the future. We already know about the first DLC that comes with the Premium and Constellation editions of Starfield called Shattered Space, which is a story-focused DLC, but Bethesda have claimed that they want to keep Starfield alive for as long as possible. Now I've mentioned this before, so I'll try and be very brief here, as brief as I can, but I really think that Starfield will basically be a test for Bethesda to give their single player games the online treatment. What I basically mean is constant updates, constant DLC, and yes, sadly, microtransactions, which honestly, I don't personally mind. I know, hot take, but depending on prices of course, and what they actually are. If we start seeing skin packs for £20, then yeah, I'm going to be very disappointed in Bethesda. But if we get things like, I don't know, Outpost item packs for fairly cheap, like £5 maybe, I'd be alright with that. Bethesda's last big game was of course Fallout 4, which had 6 DLCs in total, 3 of which basically did just add some settlement building stuff, which is what Outpost building is based on for those of you who have never played Fallout 4, and 1 was a story add-on, and the other 2 introduced brand new land that we could go and visit, entire quest lines, and even factions. I think at the very least we see another 6 DLCs for Starfield for sure, again keeping the game alive and going for at least a couple of years. But I honestly wouldn't be surprised if we get more than this. The whole point is Starfield is a huge game, the biggest game that Bethesda has ever made, and they're saying a hell of a lot considering the size of their old games was still pretty goddamn huge. We are going to be playing Starfield probably for years and years, if of course it is as great as we're all hoping. We have about 25 days to go until launch and I am so excited, so please let me know in the comments what you're mostly excited for in Starfield, and of course leave the video a like if you would be so kind, it really does help out. And hey, like I said, Starfield launches in less than a month, so if you want to stay up to date on everything that comes out after Starfield's release, be around for a ton of Starfield videos without spoilers for a while, character builds, lore discussions and plenty more in the future. Consider subscribing because I'll be covering it all here. Lastly, as always, a huge, massive thank you to our channel members for your continued support. I really could not do this without you, so thank you so much for your generosity. Please know that it is massively appreciated. But that is all from me today, so thank you all so much for watching, and I really hope to see you next time. Peace.